Chapter 386 to 388. Kuroto was on his way to the Hyuga clan after leaving Izakaya. Now that Tsunade has been persuaded, he must complete his part of the bargain. The issue of cash to pay off Tsunade's debts is entirely his responsibility, and Kuroto would not engage the clan in it, but for the first deal, the Hyuga patriarch must be persuaded. Kuroto's belief in his ability to persuade Hyuga Hayashi is based on two factors. Shusui's Koto Amatsukami is clearly the first. Even if all of his previous efforts to persuade the patriarch fail, he can always use Koto Amatsukami, which is guaranteed to work. The second is Konoha's current state, which is complicated by the fact that no clan can oppose the Hokage's order, therefore the clans will have to make the most of it. Sandaime-sama's defeat has had a significant impact on his political influence, therefore the notion of electing the next Hokage is on everyone's mind. Of all the candidates the village has at the moment, Senju Tsunade is the best fit in terms of status, reputation, fame, and ability. And if the Hyuga clan assists Tsunade-sama in a project that will greatly benefit Konoha, and if one of their clan members becomes a disciple of the next Hokage, the clan's reputation and authority will greatly improve. As a result, Kuroto believes the Hyuga patriarch will not refute the subject. Kuroto's brows pinched and a glimmer of doubt flickered across his face as he approached the Hyuga clan compound and walked in the direction of the patriarch's residence. This is because he noticed that clan members' gazes were oddly following him. Clan members were courteous and greeted him one by one with respect and admiration, as is customary. It appeared that they all admired and respected him, and perhaps they did, but upon closer inspection, it was easy to see that there were traces of fear in their eyes as well, and as a result, they were all keeping a safe distance from him. I wonder what the reason is? Kuroto pondered. He didn't seem to mind because there were no signs of hatred in their eyes, only worry. Fear fueled by hatred should not be taken lightly, but fear fueled by worry is a different story. I believe it's due to Asahi-sama's assassination. Kuroto muttered towards the end. Hyuga Asahi's killer was never apprehended. Kuroto was also considered a suspect because he expressed his displeasure with the Hyuga clan's rigid stance toward Gentle Fist, as well as a few needless rituals, only a few days before the murder. Of course, nothing was confirmed, and since Hyuga Hayashi insisted that it couldn't be Hyuga Kuroto, Kuroto was never involved in the situation, but there was still some displeasure. Kuroto, understandably, is unconcerned about what everyone else thinks, and as a result, he is uninterested in the situation. Kuroto arrived at the Hyuga patriarch's residence after a long walk and was immediately met by one of the maidservants, who said, "Kuroto-sama, the patriarch is waiting for you in his study, please follow me." Kuroto currently holds a position in the Hyuga clan that is second only to the patriarch, elders, and Hizashi. As a result, the patriarch was immediately informed of his visit so that neither of them wasted time. Kuroto politely nodded and trailed behind the maidservant. Kuroto quickly arrived in the patriarch's study after following the servant. "I am happy to see that you returned safely from Amigakure, Kuroto-kun," the patriarch said, looking at Kuroto up and down to check on his well-being. "Please have a seat when you come in." "Thank you for your concern, Hayashi-sama." Kuroto nodded and sat in front of the patriarch in the traditional Saiza stance. The maidservant brewed tea for the two and passed the teacups as they sat in silence for a while. Kuroto was the first to break the silence after the maidservant had excused herself, saying, "Yui told me about Himeji-sama. Everything has to end one day or another, the same goes for a human's life. I am only grateful that Himeji-san passed away quietly with a smile, even during the last minutes of her life. She was touching our girl's sleeping head," Hayashi remarked after a brief pause. "If she had a regret, it was that she wouldn't be able to see our daughters grow up, but she had enough faith in them to know that they would both grow up to be powerful kunoichi the Hyuga clan could be proud of." Kuroto nodded, and the room was silent once more as the two people sat quietly. "It's strange that people can find serenity even when they're dead. It makes me wonder what the point of life is," mumbled Hayashi, then asked Kuroto, "What is your opinion of life, Kuroto-kun?" Kuroto pondered the subject for a moment before responding, "I believe that life itself has no significance. Each of us has meaning in our lives that we bring into it. The meaning we bring into our lives is derived from our beliefs and ideologies, which are shaped by our experiences and knowledge, and our experience and knowledge are derived from life itself. So life is a never-ending loop in your opinion?" Hayashi inquired after interpreting Kuroto's words. "Death is only the end of our bodily forms, our souls remain on and may reincarnate. So, sure, I believe in a never-ending cycle of life." Kuroto agreed with a nod. "Ha ha ha, that is a truly unusual notion. I'll think about it while I think about stuff." Hayashi-sama stated with a nod, then added, "I am truly delighted that you have returned safely, Kuroto-kun, and I also want to congratulate you on your promotion to Umbu Squad Commander. YR and Yui's elevation to Jonin will be decided by a vote of the Hyuga clan. You won't be promoted formally while you're in Umbu, but you can be confident that you're already an unofficial Jonin. On the other hand, in a few days, Yui will be promoted to Jonin rank. Kuroto is important to Hyuga Hayashi since he is one of the pillars who can help the Hyuga clan in the future. And this concern stems from the fact that the child has done a lot for the clan, even if unwittingly, the clan has benefited from Hyuga Kuroto's efforts, therefore it is normal for him to be concerned about Kuroto as the patriarch. "I am appreciative for the gift," Kuroto said with a bow. "No need to worry," Hayashi remarked, nodding. "Now that that's out of the way, what brings you here, Kuroto-kun?" Kuroto nodded and firmly stated what he had previously discussed with Tsunade. Hayashi remained deafeningly silent after hearing all of the data, particularly Tsunade's plan to make Irionin a requirement for each four-man squad. "I understand that we cannot oppose Hokage-sama's command, given the gravity of the situation, Hayashi stated after some thought, but I want to ask you personally, are the leaders of Akatsuki and Amatsukami really as strong as the rumors make them out to be? I'm afraid that no one in Konoha, nor in other villages, is capable of fighting those two right now, Kuroto said solemnly. Even if all of the villages pooled their resources, they will be up against individuals who are gods in human form. A blade that can cut through clouds, and another that can create stones large enough to cover the horizon, both powerful enough to render Hachibi, Susanoo, and Jiraiya-sama and his giant Kuchiyos absolutely useless. When all we can hope for is to find ways to survive, such power cannot be readily rejected, and Tsunade-sama's proposition does just that. As a result, I believe that using these strategies is in the village's best interests. Hayashi was deafeningly quiet at the meeting where the details of the raid were disclosed. At first, he couldn't believe such power existed, but after further consideration and listening to the evidence, Hayashi had no choice but to believe. In such a condition, the Hyuga clan's future appears gloomy. What good will Gentle Fist do if even Uchiha Susanoo, known for its ultimate protection and great power, can't do anything? True, the Byakugan can see chakra pathway, but what good does that do when you aren't even strong enough to approach the enemy? Sigh. I sincerely hope that Hokage-sama can work out an appropriate solution for the village's protection in such a situation. Hayashi said with a sigh, then nodded to Kuroto. I will put forward Tsunade-san's suggestion in the next meeting, and added, before that, I will have some discussions with Tsunade-san, and decide on a few things to have a better grasp of her proposal. You can rest easy knowing that Hyuga Yui's apprenticeship with Tsunade-san will be completed. I would support her studies under Tsunade-san's supervision because it is advantageous to the Hyuga clan as well. I am grateful, Hayashi-sama, Kuroto stated as he bowed before the patriarch. This is the least I can do for the Hyuga clan's future, Hayashi said, nodding. Kuroto nodded and went on to explain a few possibilities. Kuroto opted not to get into the Hyuga clan's traditions and such for the time being. When old fools realize the true face of this shinobi world, their ideals will crumble. Kuroto doesn't have to spend any of his valuable time with them. Kuroto left the mansion of Hyuga Patriarch with an evident smile after discussing a few more points about Sandame's order and what other alternative tactics Hyuga clan can utilize to benefit from it. Yui's development will be assured as a result of this. There's only one more thing to do now, and then I won't have to worry about her safety, he thought with a smile. Kuroto observed an inconspicuous bamboo tube at his house's gate as he arrived home. Did Yui by chance drop it here? Kuroto asked, frowning. That isn't possible. Byakugan. There is no evidence of chakra in or around it, Kuroto said after activating his Byakugan and scanning the bamboo tube, and it appears to only have a single piece of parchment inside. Could it be? Kuroto was now intrigued because neither Shisui nor Itachi nor anybody else in the Umbu, at least not that he could recall, used such a method of communication. Kuroto picked up the bamboo tube to see what was written on the parchment, and after double-checking that it wasn't rigged with any form of trap, he opened the bamboo tube and took out the piece of parchment as he walked into his house. The densely scrawled language on the piece of paper detailed some tiny hidden acts that members of the main house had been trying to conduct against Kuroto for the past few months. Attempting to inspect his residence, for example, was futile because either Yui was present, or when she wasn't, they found nothing that might have proven his involvement in the killing of Hyuga Asahi, or anything that could be used against him. Those same individuals are also preparing a few additional Hyuga children for entry into Umbu Division. There are also indications that Shimura Danzo has been contacted, and so forth. Kuroto saw the last phrase after reading all that was going on behind his back. Your well-wisher was put on the last line, implying that whoever delivered it wants to show that he is on Kuroto's side. Kuroto smashed the piece of parchment after reading everything and mumbled mockingly, heh. It's quite intriguing. Is someone attempting to deceive me? Kuroto can only think of 3 people who could be the perpetrators of this crime. The first is Shimura Danzo. Given Danzo's character, it wouldn't be surprising if he did something like this. Kuroto has some theories as to why Danzo may do something like this, but they are just that. Danzo may be hoping to enlist Kuroto's help in one of his political battles with Sandame. After all, Sandame's power and status are eroding, and several people are developing their own plans to select the new Hokage. Kuroto is a powerful shinobi with a high status in the Hyuga clan, so it's only logical that Danzo would try to draw him from Sandame's faction. Furthermore, given Kuroto's meeting with Tsunade today, Danzo may be concerned that Kuroto, as well as the rest of the Hyuga clan, are intending to assist Tsunade to become the next Hokage, which is something he does not want. The second alternative is Orochimaru, but this was only a passing idea at the time. Orochimaru is not the type of person who would engage in such games with him, especially because Orochimaru is familiar with Kuroto's personality and recognizes that such tactics are useless on Kuroto. The third and final choice is, of course, the Hyuga clan traitor. Kuroto may be dissatisfied with the main house's treatment of him, as well as the Hyuga clan's rigid customs, in the eyes of the traitor. So, by motivating Kuroto by providing him with information on the covert movements of members of the main house, the traitor may seek to incite hatred between Kuroto, one of the strongest shinobi of the current Hyuga clan, and the Hyuga clan's main house, in order to harm the Hyuga clan. The traitor, on the other hand, does not appear to comprehend Kuroto's mental process. Kuroto's vision is not restricted to the Hyuga clan's main and branch families, nor is it limited to the Hyuga clan's main and branch families. It doesn't matter what Danzo does if it's Danzo. I'll get rid of him soon enough anyway, but if it's the traitor, then I should be grateful to him. Kuroto kept walking towards his study, thinking, I didn't have time to find and dispose of him, but the individual has jumped out on his own. Does someone like to play with me? He muttered. Alright, I'm all in for it, he said with a frigid smirk as he entered his room at the last second. If they think they can amuse me, I'll let them do so for a time. Kuroto's room at 12 a.m. Alright, the medication has taken its toll. Yui is fast asleep. Kuroto woke up and started making some preparations after making sure Yui was dead sleeping and wouldn't be waking up anytime soon. He began by activating a deep Fuinjutsu network around his room, and then around his entire house. With this, Byakugan's X-ray vision won't be able to see through the house, and no one will be able to perceive or sense the chakra fluctuations originating from my house. Kuroto grumbled as he approached Yui, who was fast asleep. Then there's Tenseigan. Kuroto utilized Bansho Tenin to raise Yui in midair after activating his Tenseigan. Kuroto wove hand gestures while concurrently brewing visual prowess in both of his Tenseigan while Yui slept in midair. Kuroto pulled Yui's forehead closer to his own and touched it with his own when he was pleased with the amount of chakra he had spent in brewing the visual prowess. Their thoughts, and, by extension, their subconscious planes, were now linked as a result of this action. The subconscious plane of Hyuga Yui. Kuroto descended deeper into her mental dimension. As to be expected given her temperament, the environment here was quiet and serene. Kuroto arrived at a valley full of white carnations after a long walk. The flower white carnation is supposed to represent purity, innocence, and pure love. And a valley bursting with these flowers in and of itself reveals her personality. Kuroto wasn't surprised. After all, he knows her like no one else. Now to find out where she is? Kuroto wondered as he observed a lake in the valley's middle. The lake itself is very clear and unpolluted. Although there were a few flowering white water lilies floating on the lake's surface, Kuroto was uninterested. There. What caught his attention is the girl lying on the bank of the lake. This girl is none other than Yui, who is peacefully sleeping on a bed of flowers. Kuroto stepped ahead after finding her and soon arrived close to her. Kuroto made no attempt to rouse her from her slumber because he has no intention of presenting himself to her. He merely went about his business. Kuroto weaved hand signs and put his palms against Yui's closed eyelids, murmuring, "Let's start." Kuroto's room a few seconds later. Alright, it's finished. Kuroto lifted his brow back after completing his mission, breaking their subconscious connection. Yui was now back on the bed after releasing the gravitational pull that had been operating on her. Kuroto crouched next to Yui as she lay back on the bed, checking her status to ensure that everything was in order and that neither she nor anybody else could detect anything. Now your safety will not be a concern, so, I can rest assured, Kuroto muttered as he kissed her forehead and tenderly rubbed her head. Of course, having her study under Tsunade offers Kuroto a lot of comforts, but it's not enough. Given that someone from the Hyuga clan could be an adversary as well, Kuroto must ensure that the effect of caged bird Juinjutsu is reduced on her. After all, if the enemy turns out to be someone from the main house, that person now has Kuroto's vulnerability in his hands. As a result, Kuroto has added something additional, which will protect her not only from the harsh instructions issued by caged bird Juinjutsu but also from other moments of great desperation when her life is on the line and no other source of support is available. Kuroto then went back to sleep after deactivating his Tenseigan and the Fuinjutsu network that had spread throughout his residence. Team, Roambu codes. Watatsumi, Hyuga Kuroto. Ekame, Yuhi Kurinai. Rabbit, Gecko Hayate. Hana, Yuzuki Yugao. Weasel, Uchiha Itachi. The next day's early morning. Watatsumi arrived at the training field, R3, where the newly formed team, Ro was to be assembled for some combat training and to receive the basics of their first mission. Watatsumi took a quick look around and noticed that the other 4 members of Team Ro, i.e. Ekame, Rabbit, Hana, and Weasel, are all present. Captain. The 4 members of the Team Ro greeted Watatsumi. Good, you're all here on time. There are 2 reasons for calling the 4 of you in the early morning, Watatsumi said after a brief pause. First, we need to figure out what combat methods we'll use on missions. Each of you has told me about your skill sets and areas of specialization. As the captain of Team Ro, I now need to know your skill level and the current strength of the 4 of you in order to design appropriate fighting strategies. How are you going to do it, Captain? Weasel inquired as he raised his hand. Of course, by direct combat. Watatsumi responded to Weasel's query. It makes sense, Rabbit and Hana exchanged nods. And what is the second reason? Ekame inquired. I'm glad you inquired. Here is a scroll in my hand, it records the second reason for calling out the 4 of you. As the captain of Team Ro, I am assigning the 4 of you a mission, and the mission is to steal this scroll from me, Watatsumi said, pulling a white scroll from his shinobi bag. Use any and all methods necessary, or better yet, I'm ordering you 4 to use every means and tactic available to you, from the brightest and most clever to the dirtiest and most deceiving. Everything is permissible. Even critical damage or killing me is permitted, but you must steal this scroll from me within the 24-hour time restriction. Please keep in mind that if the 4 of you fail to perform this duty, you will all be expelled out of the Umbu department, understand? Are you serious, Captain? Hana inquired, surprised. Yes, even if you're the team's captain, and even if you're stronger than all 4 of us, you'd be battling all 4 of us at the same moment, Ekame frowned as she spoke. Not to mention ordering us to use any and all means cough during practice, says the narrator. Rabbit added his 2 cents. Only Weasel remained mute, and he began to plan some counter-strategies against Watatsumi. He didn't challenge Watatsumi's comments because he was well aware of Watatsumi's strength. And he realized that defeating Watatsumi would require them to employ all of their might and more. I am incredibly serious, come at me with everything you have, Watatsumi warned, because anything less would be uninteresting. Isn't he staring down at us? Hana asked. It's not about looking down on you, Watatsumi remarked, shaking his head. There's just that much strength disparity between us. Try it for yourself if you don't trust me. One of the goals of this test is to provide each of you with a wake-up call. I have gone over each of your records to see what missions you've done so far. However, believe me when I tell. The operations that Team Ro will be doing from now on will be on a whole other level. Hearing Watatsumi's statements, the four exchanged glances before nodding. Alright, if you say so, Akame nodded blankly. However, don't blame us later. Anyway, Tsunade-sama is in the village, so you won't die captain even if you get harmed. We'll see about that, Watatsumi joked. Sure, we'll do it. All four said at the same time. Alright, now that that's decided, one thing I want all of you to know is that I won't attack until you four launch an attack. So you can be patient and plan your strategy, but keep in mind the time restriction. Now that we've clarified everything, the present time is 4:32 and 29 seconds AM, this test will begin at 4:33 AM and end at 4:32 and 59 seconds AM tomorrow, understand? Watatsumi expressed his thoughts. Yes. The four nodded and prepared themselves. Alright, 20, 17, 15, 11, 7. On the count of 3, 3, 3, 2, 1. Start. All four of them vanished from their positions and hid away in an instant. They weren't hidden from his Byakugan, but he did give them the time they needed to prepare. Watatsumi retrieved another scroll from his shinobi bag and thought to himself, I suppose I should start learning the Rasengan as well. Rasengan is the apex of shape transformation, according to Yondaime Hokage, and learning it isn't easy, but it isn't impossible. There was a clear three-step process given in the story for learning the Rasengan. 1. Rotation, the chakra must be spun in several directions at the same time. 2. Power, to enhance the degree of damage, the input chakra's density and volume must be raised. 3. Containment, the powerful spinning chakra must be contained in the shape of a ball in the step. Individual approaches for learning these three processes include churning water in a water balloon until it explodes, exploding a rubber ball, and lastly spinning chakra inside an air balloon without allowing it to pop or move for steps 1, 2, and 3, respectively. That is a basic strategy that can assist in the mastering of Rasengan when combined with hard work. Kuroto, on the other hand, does not need to devote so much time to it. Kuroto's chakra control is excellent as a Hyuga, so he believes that mastering Rasengan won't be too tough for him. After making that decision, Kuroto studied the scroll containing the mechanism and an in-depth explanation of the Rasengan according to Yondaime Hokage and then began the three-step process by removing a filled water balloon and twisting his chakra to churn the water inside the water balloon. POV shift. What is he doing? Akame inquired of Hana. Well, Hana explained, he's just standing there and doing something to a water balloon with his chakra. It's a little aggravating that he doesn't seem to take us seriously. With a groan, Rabbit said. Ano, what good is it for us to be hiding here? He has the Byakugan, after all. I'm confident the captain is aware of our exact location, Weasel remarked. I understand, but we must design a strategy. Moving away won't help, instead, let's plan a strategy. It's possible that if we convince him that we're under his watch, he'll let down his guard a little. So, in order to design a strategy, we'll need to bring out all of the information we have on his skills, Akame stated and took the charge as she is the most senior of the four. He has approximately 360-degree eyesight with Byakugan. He is obviously very proficient at gentle fist-style taijutsu, as he is one of the strongest Hyuga. I've heard he's also a master of strong fist-style taijutsu. He wields that sword as well, and there are whispers that he is currently Konoha's best kenjutsu user. I've heard he also utilizes poisons and venoms, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. He's also skilled in shurikenjutsu. He's also a fuinjutsu master. I heard a story that he knows practically all of Konoha's fuinjutsu. Does he employ any basic chakra nature's ninjutsu? He doesn't appear to. I'd never heard of it. He also doesn't appear to be a genjutsu practitioner. Yes, but genjutsu doesn't work on him either. How are we going to beat him? The captain stated that we must steal the scroll. We do not have to defeat him in order to steal that particular scroll. That is correct, but we must also prepare for the struggle. Getting close to him without alarming him is nearly impossible now that he possesses Byakugan. What if we take advantage of the Byakugan's blind spot? He's a branch house member. That might work. So, we'll do this, and then that, and we do so based on his response.